Hey, Connor. Sunday, this music is garbage. This music isn't garbage. What are you smoking? This music is awesome. Jesper Kid deserved an award for this soundtrack. He didn't get one. Not to my knowledge, anyways. Good morning, Sunday. I'm in Japan today. What are you doing in Japan? The source of all this madness, incidentally. So what caused you to pick this up as a topic? This is actually, it's not a, this is not a topic that's really unusual for me. It's just the, I think people are sort of missing the forest for the trees here. And of course, right now they decide to wax the floor upstairs. Um, so the NPC phenomena, we're actually going to be joined by Demon Mama shortly, as it turns out, just off the cuff, in a couple minutes. But I've talked a little bit about something that has not been given much attention at all, and that's the social and political significance of the ASMR phenomena. So the autonomous sensory meridian response. Basically, if you are of such a psychological disposition, whatever that means, that if you hear certain sorts of sounds, maybe associated with some kind of skilled activity, this is why unintentional ASMR is very popular. You have a physical response, sort of like this. It's kind of like, it just kind of feels like the tingly sensation you get when someone gently strokes your scalp in a certain way. Some people don't get it. Some people do get it, and then it gets sort of, they overindulge, so to speak, and they lose the capacity to it. It seems to disappear for a lot of people when they deal with large amounts of physical stress or psychological stress or things like that. Not that there's a sharp distinction between the two. But it's the it's the reflection of a phenomena that people have been talking about for a very long time. Positive associations, right? So at the beginning of Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, they're going through the factory, basically, that produces these citizens of the dystopic state that Huxley's depicting. And there's one room that they pass through, and toddlers are put into a natural foresty environment. They're crawling around, enjoying themselves, and then they're electrocuted, like that. So there's a negative association created in their minds at a very early and formative stage between the natural world, the thing that is completely covered over by the artificial cities in which they'll live and work and die when they grow up. There's a negative association built with the natural world, and therefore the quote-unquote modern world, the technological concrete world, that is now a refuge. Um, I would submit that the political influence of people who have managed to tap into that kind of thing, who have managed to create an additional physical response with their speech, has been immense. I think it's accounted for the success of a whole ton of pundits, and has therefore accounted for the proliferation of their message. I think someone like Christopher Hitchens is a case in point. Very dim man, not actually all that clever, very little to really say, but he's situated in such a way as you're kind of formally accepting at the outset, especially if you're naive, that this is somebody with some degree of institutional standing and legitimacy, and his delivery it pushes those buttons. If you're somebody who's like familiar with the ASMR phenomena, if this is something you've experienced, you know what I'm talking about. And this creates a number of really interesting dynamics. Among other things, people will listen to Christopher Hitchens, or people like Christopher Hitchens who talk in this sort of way, more often than other people, irrespective of the quality of their content. They're listening to them. They're allowing them to repeat their message over and over again into their ears, maybe repetitiously, irrespective of what it is that they're actually saying. That's really powerful. That's really powerful. Why am I talking about ASMR? Well, I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of these TikTok NPC uh, uh, creators are also ASMR creators. One of the biggest ones is hang on. Da, da, da. Cherry Crush ASMR. If you've seen the that horrific thing here, I'll show you actually. My apologies for whatever mental scarring this incurs. Um, yeah, here we go. This is horrific, so be warned. Content warning, folks. You don't understand what I'm about to show you. This is just fucking horrific, okay? This is, for people who are not familiar, you know what an NPC is. An NPC is a non-player character in a video game. They typically have repetitious, um, like gestures and things like that. They're sort of automatic. People have started to emulate this on YouTube and TikTok for money. It's essentially, it's I don't know if it's sort of a form of sex work, but it's definitely in the ballpark. No, I do not want to see your Instagram. Wait, what? I didn't even press that. Hang on. Here we go. God, this is so weird. Okay.
Where is this?
Okay, I'm taking my earphones out while this is going. I'm literally getting psychic damage from listening to this. Jesus Christ.
Sushi. Cute. Oh.
Okay.
Now spicy. Oh, lollipop. Yum.
Alright. My sincerest apologies for that. That was physically painful. That's what we're talking about. Okay. I wish I had alcohol today. So, why am I talking about ASMR? One of the things you will notice... Let's get that off the screen. One of the things you will notice with stuff like this is the high level of attention to framing. This is not a person who allows you to see herself, at least in this production, as somebody who exists in 3 dimensions, right? Here's my thesis, okay? I think what is going on. Is there's sort of a feedback loop happening where representations of human beings within complex contexts in things like anime representations, say, or increasingly in film that is inspired by anime representations of things, or video games increasingly. I think that these are creating positive associations with a highly pared down picture of human beings and human relationships in such a way as the actual complexity of real human beings is becoming associated with a kind of ugliness and discomfort that makes it so that this sort of thing provides a refuge for people. I think what's basically happened is people are coming to associate personal complexity and get off my screen, and the existence of lines and shadows and motions, etc., that are not, because what does anime do? Anime is very interesting in how it depicts human emotions. There's different kinds. I'll separate them into 2. So there's like Ghost in the Shell, right? The original one. That is more or less an attempt to depict actual human beings. It's a fairly realistic style. The characters are about as emotive as an actual person. They all basically have poker faces on the entire time. Their faces are not distorted ever. And then there's the kind of anime that people are more familiar with. That's more the kind in which, oh, a character's nervous, giant teardrop represented on their face. Oh, they're embarrassed, giant lines, giant red circles on their cheeks. Oh, they're angry. Weird little, like, vein representation floating above their skull. Oh, they're embarrassed or confused or startled. Eyes reduced to dots. Human expression and human emotion and depthful human interactions are reduced essentially to emojis. And here's the thing. If your real world is miserable and you don't have meaningful, depthful relationships with the people around you, and you don't have a hope of getting them, and your life is basically without meaning and depth, you haven't developed yourself into someone with anything interesting to say, you're not doing anything interesting, there's no adventure in your life, your entire existence is basically just slaving away in a gray box to buy a bigger gray box to eventually grow old and die in. Um, your perception of real people is going to be very, very dim. Um, and you'll escape to this stuff. And what essentially is happening here is the things that people find attractive in other human beings are being pared down. And the stuff that we actually care about, the stuff that we actually value in human interactions, is pared down. And so, like the infants in Brave New World who are being electroshocked by around images of nature and things like that, real human beings with interests, with goals, with stuff beyond just the bare presentation in two dimensions for the player character's amusement. Like it used to be the case, or it still is the case. For example, like on erotic video games are a thing. But typically, these are representations of real things, and they're real things put into a situation where the player, or in the case of pornography generally, the player, the viewer, or whatever, gets a level of immediate gratification that they can't get in real life. Because in real life, if you want to be erotically involved with somebody, that takes typically a lot of time and communication and awkwardness, and it's terrifying and stressful and expensive, or can be. Um, there, it's just like, oh, no, here, we'll give you what you want, you'll get your dopamine hit, you'll be able to carry on, kind of thing. It reduces social interaction to masturbation, to masturbatory purposes, for the sake of that in particular. But what's interesting about this is that it's actually swapping out the thing being simulated for the simulation itself. Does that make sense? By the way, it has not. I have not missed that we have exactly 69 concurrent viewers at the moment. So nice. Oh, exactly. No, nosebleed. They're horny. Same thing. Yeah, yeah. Um. So something very disturbing is going on, in which, as a consequence of this sort of feedback loop, what people are becoming increasingly attracted to, or at least the people who are putting in the immense amount of money that is making the NPC TikTok meme work. And by the way, here's where I think this is important. This is not new. This is just a novel configuration of something that's been going on for a long time, but accelerating. What are we looking at here? When we look at this, what are we seeing? We are seeing pure gender. There is no person behind this. This is purely just stop getting on. God, this website is fucking awful. Look at this. Um, we are seeing a situation in which human beings are being reduced radically to those emojis. That's all that's left. See, one of the disturbing things about the art form, like the anime styles that sort of inspire this whole sort of presentation, is that they they are minimalistic. If you look at very old anime, they actually have a lot more in common with Western cartoons. There's a lot more ugly lines, bulges, round features, etc., etc. Later on, that starts to go away. Um, and it starts to become so minimalistic and so formalized, I guess, or becomes so formulaic that uh, attractive men and women become drawn in functionally indistinct ways. There's not an inherent problem with that, but you'll see where I'm going with this. And increasingly, characters who are attractive are associated with having fewer and fewer drawn features. Their faces have nothing on them. There are no lines. There are no bones. There's no, like, cheek structure. There's no anything. Typically, it'll just be... You'll be reduced to something... sort of like this. Essentially reduced to a mannequin. And once again, like, when you pay attention to this, I'm going to mute it this time. Don't worry, you're not going to have to listen to this horrific thing again. Dear God. I'm actually going to turn the volume completely off. Just for this. Because I do not want to hear this again. Notice the framing. That takes a lot of work. She is maintaining a very specific posture. You cannot see lines. You cannot see shadows. You cannot see dimension. Alright, enough of that. That is honestly so fucking disturbing. But, you want to listen? Go listen on your own time. I am not listening to that again. I have other stuff to do today, and I will be mentally unwell if I continue to watch that. So here's what's happening, and it's deeply disturbing. We have human beings who are now modeling themselves off of a reduced facsimile of human beings. And as this becomes increasingly normalized, it already has become normalized. I mean, fundamentally, it's the one intrinsic danger in online sex work, for example, that we don't really have the capacity to come to terms with. Because there is a level of, I guess, making generic that becomes very difficult to grapple with. Because you end up in a situation where the sex worker themselves become so divorced from the presentation that the presentation sort of takes on a life of its own. Jinro is good. I haven't watched Jinro. I've seen bits of Jinro. Jinro looks fantastic. So it'll be interesting to see how this actually develops, in honestly, probably in a disturbing way, because... Oh, here we go. Having some major audio issues. Give me a bit. Okay, so Dean Mom will join us shortly. She's just figuring it out. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is interesting, actually. Okay, we have some stuff. We have some stuff here. I am intrigued. Thank you, Connor. This is a new kind of hell, not gonna lie. It's actually a very old kind of hell. This has been going on for a long time. When you're, Oh yeah, no, there's money in this. So, what are people getting out of this? I think that is the immediate question. What are people specifically getting out of this? And to recap sort of the last 20 or so minutes of discussion, what people are getting out of this, I think, is the illusion that the people around them that there is none of the uncomfortable, frictive things about the people around them that makes actually dealing with people extremely difficult. sometimes sometimes which makes having relationships with them impossible. Um, it it takes away the discomfort of having to realize that not only are other human beings inaccessible to you, but that you're missing out on something in the process. I think it also flattens them. It's about control, in your opinion? To an extent. I don't think it's really about control, though. See, one of the unfortunate things that happens when, for example, as a cis guy, you have to acknowledge that um, women who reject you are also like full people with depth and value and purposes and intelligence, etc., etc. Um, is that you have to acknowledge that you actually lost at something legitimate. But if an entire half of humanity are just dolls, they're interchangeable with each other. They're fungible. And that makes the failure to attain success in that domain a lot less painful for some people. So I don't think it's about control. I think it's about anesthesis. I think it's actually it's kind of funny. This is actually weirdly a theme in some of the um uh smarter representations of the art form. Um, Although they still leverage it, they still play into it, and they still market themselves using it. But like Nier Automata, Neon Genesis Evangelion. I mean, Neon Genesis Evangelion literally has nude depictions of the female characters in its opening title scroll. Sunday, does this tie in with VTubers or parasocial relationships? Oh, absolutely, with VTubers. With parasocial relationships, more tangentially, I think. See, I think the difference is that people sort of vicariously live through their favorite political streamers and things like that. Um, or imagine these people as being like their friends or whatever, and they want them to like them. But I don't think that's what's going on here. I don't think, for example, that this person, let's see, where's this horrific ice cream one? Let's find it. I'm gonna traumatize you with it here. Uh, oh, here's interesting. Pinky Doll breaks character. I'm actually kind of curious about this one. So this is the infamous. This isn't the ice cream one, but this is the one that here I'll show you. I'll show you the actually. This is the infamous one. I think this is it.
The newest fad to hit TikTok.
No, that's not it. Hang on. Give me a sec. Let me find it. Who is this one again? Pinky Doll, right? Pinky Doll ice cream. Once again, my sincerest apologies.
The earliest still accessible TikTok on Pinky
No,
Doll's account.
I don't want this AI generated thing. Hang on. God, even the fucking commentary videos are AI generated now. We are doomed as a species. Give me a moment. Ugh. Ugh. Bear with me a sec. Somebody sent me the actual thing. I'm sure it's in the actual article I was just looking at. Let me find it. Here, I think this is this might be it.
Ice cream so good, gang gang.
That's it.
Ice cream so good, gang gang. Ice cream so good. It was you, him. Take your melon, take your Nelly. Slay, huh? Grab, pop, amazing. Oh, take it, Danny. I love you, gang gang. Yeah, strong woman. Yeah, strong woman.
Okay, so apparently she breaks character down here.
Tu m'écoutes pas, je vais venir te prendre moi-même. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Vas-y, va mettre ça dans ta chambre, c'est pas un jouet. Balloon. Meow.
I don't know what that was. Okay, anyways, you get the idea. I don't even know how to read this performance. Well, good, that just means you're still sane. Dear God. There is, like, legitimately skill involved in that. Like, it is a performance that takes probably a lot more energy and time than a lot of people who do that kind of thing. But just, dear God. But in all seriousness, I think what this is demonstrating is an extremely toxic undercurrent that's been gaining a lot of traction recently. I think as people increasingly have to spend all of their lives doing drudgery that doesn't actually improve their lot in life, but just keeps them kind of going in the vain hope that there's some kind of light at the end of the tunnel, I think we're going to start seeing we're gonna start seeing that become normalized in different ways outside of that sphere. That itself is a representation of that, right? See, here's the thing. What that is enacting is something that people are already engaging in long in advance of the NPC TikTok thing starting. What do I mean by this? The reason why people are pretending to be NPCs on TikTok as a form of sex work is because they recognized that people were already using actual NPCs for that exact purpose. Yeah. Can't wait for NPC porn. I got bad news for you, my friend. Or good news, depending on who you are. That's been a thing for a long time now. That seems like it's designed to entertain people with severe mental disorders. No, not at all. That's the disturbing thing. It's not meant for a specific audience. I think this is very generalized. I think this is an extreme sort of cringy form of something that's been extremely normalized for a little while now. We're in disturbing times. If you want an interesting take about this, watch the video about postmodernism by Plastic Pills. I'm not generally impressed by Plastic Pills. Okay. I mean, that's what POV porn is. Yeah, but here's the thing about POV porn, right? So there's something kind of interesting about this. What's interesting about this isn't that they're sexualizing video game characters. What's actually interesting about this is that they're not. They're taking a form that has itself been used as a surrogate for sexuality, because there's nothing sexual about this. You have definitionally. See, here's the thing. An actual sex worker, you can pay an actual sex worker enough and maybe they'll even have sex with you, or they'll give you things, right? You can't do that with an NPC. You are constrained by the rules of the game. These people are acting like people who are less accessible. The product is not sex, simply. The product is sex that has had all of the uncomfortable associations with sex paired off, cut off. This is a human being that has been, at least in the presentation, this is a presentation of a human being stripped down of detail. That's very interesting. That has become... Yeah. Would you consider Smith an NPC? God knows. Smith's an actual person. Now, I think there may be like some overlap in terms of things like debate tropes. when people sort of imitate like the Vosh or Destiny thing in online debates. I mean, there's something similar going on there. These are essentially shorthands for descriptions of a context, but I don't think they're identical. So, yeah. This is just like hentai in idealized form. It's not that deep. Well, it kind of is, though, because once again, there's a distinction here. Animated porn is not the same thing, or drawn pornography. Well, it's simulated. It's not identical to what's going on here. This isn't a simulation of sexual activity. This is the sexualized simulation of simulated activity. You see? This is going to one day involve VR? Buddy, we're there. Not one day. That one day is in the past. This is the world we're in now. You guys gotta catch up. The issue is not that the content is deep. You guys, like, a lot of you don't understand how social analysis or psychology works. The issue is not that the content, that this material has intellectual depth to it. The depth lies in what gives rise to this at all. Why on earth there is a market for this? Why on earth this has even become a trope? That's very interesting. That's a deep question. Well, that's the thing, Karasu. It's not even a replication of hentai. That's what's interesting about this. This is a representation of, like, a shopkeeper. Like, this is the person bouncing behind the counter at the bazaar in Ocarina of Time. Hey! This is pro ZD as porn, literally. Pro ZD as depornified porn. I'm not saying that the content is deep. I'm saying that the reason for why it's simple. It's not, though, Sithu. You're actually just fundamentally wrong. And frankly, if you think something is simple, odds are that's because you've been severely misled. Because nothing about this is simple. This is one of the most complex phenomena in history, actually. Like a lot of things right now. This is bizarre and deeply complex. Oh, how's it going, Demon Mama? Chesterton's fence be damned. Chesterton, I mean, Chesterton is not much better. Chesterton engaged in a lot of the same thing at a much earlier stage of development. So, when you have an association of beauty with innocence, for example, that works both ways, right? That makes the innocent the beautiful and the beautiful the innocent. And if you have associations with either of these things that are, let's say, not good, well, we know where this goes in the anime realm. But the reason why I say this has been happening for a very long time, I don't just mean from the dawn of the internet or from the dawn of anime. I mean, this is what you're witnessing with this is actually the purest representation of gender overriding the reality of the person it is being assigned to. Does that make sense? This is substantially worse. This is actually, if you look at like the tradwife memes and stuff like that, this is essentially a strange divergent tangent from that. that sort of distills the essence of what's going on in that case, because that's actually just a more complex form. It's had less pared away. So they imagine a person in a specific set of vocations and tasks in a specific role, and that becomes a part of the whole aesthetic of the person themselves. It is purely aesthetic. It's no less aesthetic than the dress or the makeup that they wear. But it includes a wider context as well. What we're seeing with the NPC TikTok stuff is essentially that, but pared down so much that there's not even the capacity for real life in there. It's deeply disturbing. And deeply destructive, because if you are only positively capable of engaging in an emotionally satisfying way, or I guess not an emotionally satisfying way, that's probably the wrong word for it. If you only have positive emotional associations with a pared down shell, like a skeleton of human interaction that only highlights the little emoji elements of expression, of emotion, that sort of triggers some kind of positive thing in your brain. If that's the only part of, for example, a interaction with somebody of the opposite sex that you're capable of enjoying, or just period, then you are actually not going to be able to positively engage with people as people in a more complex way. You're not going to be able to deal with the complexities associated with, medical issues, aging, life goals, work, the tedium of day-to-day life, the fact that as people age, they physically degenerate, they become coarse, they have lines, their hair recedes, it goes gray, they grow hair in other places, their muscles change shape, their backs change shape, etc., etc. You're not going to be able to handle that. You're going to be like Keemstar in your 40s, hooking up with somebody who's 30 years your junior. Not that that's intrinsically, you have to be really careful here. Not that there's an intrinsic issue with people with age gaps getting in relationships, but when that becomes the selling point, you're not looking for a partner or a peer. You're looking for a doll. And I think that's what's going on. We are seeing people reducing other people to dolls, not because of a fetish. And I think this is the crucial point. This isn't a kink. It's not hyper-specific. I think this is anesthesis. I think people are doing this because actually dealing with actual people is extremely painful, and we are addicted to the thing that makes relationships and stuff like that painless. By the way, this is something that Evangelion actually goes into. It's one of the things that makes it great, even despite the fact that it's also very guilty of facilitating a lot of this as well. 40s minus 30 years. Oh, is he in his 40s? Okay, 20 years. 20 years, okay. Keem's with somebody 30 years his junior in particular, that's very bad. Look, I'm talking about in terms of adults, okay? I'm talking about like 20 and 40 kind of thing. All right, brilliant. We got Demon Mom on. Thank God.
Hello.
Howdy. How are you doing?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me fine?
Oh, I can hear you just fine. Your voice is like the sound of an angel after the fucking nightmare I just was subjecting my audience to.
What are you subjecting your audience to?
We watched two representative clips of Pinky Doll and Cherry Crush. And dear God, that is psychic violence if ever there was
Really?
some.
You think it's that bad?
It's
I don't know. I do think there are times where it squicks me out. That's for sure.
It's pretty bad for me. Maybe I'm just made of weaker stuff.
I mean, I do. It is highly repetitive, and it's very like a lot of exaggerated expressions and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, it does so much damage to you. I can understand it. It definitely put me in a mood the first time I saw it. I was like, what the fuck is this? This is weird even for me. And I'm a big fan of ASMR, and there's
Okay.
some weird stuff in ASMR that definitely definitely bothers some people. Clearly my video on ASMR certainly got some people worked up. But yeah, it has a slightly different it definitely seems to be hitting on some different things than ASMR. Although it is interesting to me that there are a bunch of or at least one major ASMR person. You mentioned Cherry Crush.
Yeah.
Cherry Crush is like a really, really well-known ASMR
Yeah.
performer, like one of the biggest. Well, maybe not one of the biggest, but pretty large. Let me check real quick. I can probably get you stats.
Well, I think
Cherry
that
Crush ASMR has
yeah.
1.02 million. So actually, yeah, she might be one of the biggest ASMR creators.
Well, I think they bleed into each other quite a bit. I think the common thread here is um, uh, audiovisual media that triggers a specific type of physical response. And I think that's true.
Oh, are
both.
you trying to imply there's like a sexual element to this?
No, not at all. But I mean, even people who will say, for example, that ASMR is asexual, and I tend to largely agree, although I can't speak for everybody, of course. Nonetheless, people will tend
Wait.
to
You said it is a sexual experience or is asexual?
asexual. One word.
Okay, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
non-sexual. Yeah, I think a better way to put it would be it's not intrinsically sexual at all, or for a lot of people, it's not sexual at all. I can't speak for everybody, of course. People are wired in different ways. But I think even people though who will say that, if they're asked to describe it, they might offhandedly say brain orgasm or something like that. That's pretty common.
Yeah.
But then people will
Some
describe
people-
a sneeze that way as well.
Yeah, when ASMR first started, there was a definitive attempt by creators mostly to distinguish it heavily from people did call it
Yes.
like orgasmic in some ways. I don't think that's accurate.
No,
And
me neither.
again, I say this from a position of somebody who enjoys a lot of ASMR. I'm very open about that.
Oh, likewise.
Well-
Actually, just to highlight that point as well. There's an entire subgenre. I mentioned this earlier briefly when I was talking about this stuff. There's a subgenre of ASMR called unintentional ASMR, and I think that's really important because what that highlights is that it's not just the physical association with sound. It's sound and context, typically associated with something sort of very grounded and practical, or in dealing with a lot of finesse or highly technical information. So medical ASMR by actual like doctors doing checkups and things like that, or like talking about health issues.
Extremely popular.
Extremely popular.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that I find fascinating.
Chiropractors are one of the main sources of unintentional ASMR, like completely unintentional. Like chiropractors will film sessions for, quote unquote educational. All whatever you think of chiropractic aside, we're not talking about that here. I totally understand people, who get mad about the quackish elements of chiropractic, but regardless, people will film videos with the purpose of being informative about chiropractic or instructional in some way. And the result will be they'll be watched by millions of people for the purposes of ASMR because it's like a soft, spoken, highly technical, somewhat intimate, but not intimate in like a sexual way. It's like there's a connection between the doctor and the patient that I think people, sort of attach to.
I have a hypothesis.
yeah.
I want to know what you think about it.
Sure.
So, as well as like people talk a lot about like the sort of experiential components of ASMR, what it's like, etc. Less talked about is how people lose it, right? So people can, for example, lose the capacity to enjoy ASMR or experience a response to it as a result of overexposure, but also very frequently as a result of stress and overwork and stuff like that. And a lot of like ASMR producers have talked about this because they're doing this to themselves in the course of producing this content. I know Springbok ASMR had a podcast interview a long time ago where she was talking about how she actually can't experience it anymore at all. Yeah. And I do.
Yeah. In fact, there's an entire sub genre within ASMR that is called tingle immunity. Which is like designed to help you break through the desensitization.
That's interesting.
Like, listening to ASMR very frequently. In fact, it's pretty interesting because one of the interesting things about that type is that they're usually made by very experienced ASMR people who are catering to members of their audience who've been following for a long time. as
Oh.
an example of this. Not to hijack this and turn this into an entire discussion about ASMR.
No, I think that's I think it's extremely relevant to this. That's actually how I've been talking about this. Yeah.
If you're interested in looking into, just anybody who's listening to this interested in learning more about this, Softly Galoshes is a ASMR creator, like the Boots. Softly Galoshes is an ASMR creator who's been going since like the beginning. Like, I mean, like, if not like at the like creation of the term ASMR, then very shortly after. She's been doing it for a very long time, and um and one of the sort of regular things she does for her patrons is these sort of specialized tingle immunity videos that are specifically designed to try and work it out. And she's done so many of them and gotten so much feedback on them, that she'll talk about her sort of theories as to like how you disrupt that sort of immunity and how you disrupt that sort of desensitization. Because, there's most people who seek out ASMR are doing so because it is a stress relief, similar to like getting a massage, right? Or something like that, but obviously significantly, literally free to access in most cases. And much less, there's a lot less, you don't have to go to a place, you don't have to book an appointment, there's none of that. You can just go on the computer and listen to this thing, and it gives you a certain level of relaxation or soothingness or whatever. And so it's interesting to me that there's been this whole evolution over the years that you can see of people seeking this out regularly, finding themselves no longer getting the feelings that they got before from certain things, and then finding new ways to engage in it. And that's something I myself have experienced over the years as well. There have been periods of time where I get that so-called immunity, the immunity to the ASMR
Same
feeling.
Yeah.
Most people who have will sort of, you get temporary burnout now,
or burnout from specific kinds, and you have to shift.
Exactly. And there's like, and also it's extremely common for people to just completely change what they're interested in over the course of years, as far as like what things actually activate the sensory feeling.
That's an excellent segue. That's an excellent segue, though, because here's my hypothesis.
Okay.
I have a suspicion, based upon the way in which there is significant overlap, not just between, for example, pornography or online sex work and things like that, and also ASMR, and therefore also this NPC thing. I think, in addition to this, the existence of things like unintentional ASMR, as like a thing that's people have a specific interest in. In fact, it's one of the most popular, as you put it, kinds out there. But also of people are very perplexed because there's this genre of YouTube video compilation, satisfying video compilation, and you will see just finesse demonstrated in some kind of like in machine movements.
Oh yes.
In art, in some kind of practical activity. Here's my hypothesis very quickly, and then I'll let you jump in. I have a suspicion that the reason why ASMR is only being talked about now, despite the fact that we supposedly should have been able to talk about this for hundreds and 1,000 years, because I mean, for God's sake, some of the most ASMR quality videos are clips from period pieces where you're just hearing the creak of wood on chairs, the switching of empty cups. I think we experienced this sensation with a lot of things, and I think it was so ubiquitous it wasn't worth pointing out. I think when Aristotle, for example, talks about there's a certain pleasure inherent in life and stuff like that, I don't think he's talking about the bare, like, sort of like, if pressed, you can sort of abstract away from the fact that you don't want to die despite the fact that your life is miserable or whatever because there's some pleasures. I think people actually associated a really positive thing with a lot of the activities they did in their day-to-day, and I think it's our extreme alienation or the extreme repetition of those other things that has made it so that when you find that now becomes a novelty.
Yeah, well, I think there's a truth to that too. And also, I mean, I think there's a couple of things I could build off of that. I think that, like, one is people have for a very long time found they didn't call it, like you mentioned, they didn't have the term ASMR. That's a fairly new thing, which I put this on the ability for, like, people to find corners of the internet and share experiences and then rapidly propagate that information and then have it be like honed down on really quickly at the speed of information. But like, I mean, barbershops, coffee shops, libraries, these are all places that have that are, first of all, frequently replicated in ASMR. Like, they're some of the most commonly replicated locations in ASMR, but they also are places where you will be surrounded by gentle sounds of pages turning, of people shuffling books, of people quietly discussing in the distance. These things that are sort of associated very strongly with ASMR. So I think I would agree that, and I think that people have even cultivated it in different forms in the past. Audio soundscapes are nothing new. You know, fire crackling videos predate ASMR by a long shot. And just sitting by a fire for long hours, or even listening to music by the fire, or listening to somebody speaking on a radio by the fire, are things that pre-exist all of these. I do think that there's a I do think that you're right on something, which is to say that, like, it is simultaneously easier to find people to discuss it with in language, and harder to actually find the experience on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Especially in the sort of, you know, the fact that we had a pandemic raging out of control for a very long time. Like, people weren't going to these locations where there was a passive, you know, quiet social space with soft sounds and whatever, and sometimes deliberate sounds.
Or on the flip side, public spaces and airports and malls gained that quality. Yeah.
I think you're right. And as far as how this ties to the TikTok NPC thing, I do think there's overlap, and I'm, at least my approach to it, I think that, like, much like with ASMR, where there is a subsect of ASMR that is explicitly sexual, and there is also areas of ASMR, there are creators that, like, sort of personally delight in blurring the lines between the sexual and the non-sexual, which I think is true about everything, honestly. I don't think that's unique to ASMR, but I think it deserves attention being drawn to it. I think that's probably the case with this TikTok NPC thing too. I imagine that there are some creators that are doing this for, you know, to appeal to a specific kink that may lean in certain directions. And then I think there's probably something else about it that is independent, much like I said, with ASMR and almost any, like, art that you could distill. You know, and there are varying degrees of comfort that people will find with that, I'm sure. The TikTok NPC thing is so interesting because it is it's like
I think it's
I
interesting,
don't know
and
what it is.
I disagree
It's
with
like
you.
a distilled audio loop, distilled reactions that are without context, that are removed from context.
Well, I think it's pure. I think it's the purest representation of the distillation of how we view the woman gender through the lens of our most popular media. I think what it is, and I was talking about this earlier, I think what it is it's taking all of the painful and uncomfortable and sort of three-dimensional elements of human interaction. Because the thing that most strikes me about the NPC TikTok meme phenomena is how non-sexual it is. It's taking a thing that is a representation of something already sexualized, paring down the uncomfortable elements, and reproducing it again as something that is anesthetized and sort of simply, quote-unquote, wholesome to somebody who cannot stomach real human interaction.
I think I can see where you're coming from with that. I think there's also, like, probably an element
there's
of
probably
the
a
same
kink there
thing.
too. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I know for a fact.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I could tell you that, you know, as somebody who's fairly well versed on kink and the various types that exist.
Excuse me, madam. This is a goodly Christian channel.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Yes, very much so. But I think there's also, like, at least from what I can see, I do think there's another overlap that hasn't been discussed as much, which is not with, although you could argue there's also this overlap in ASMR too, but in other things, like, for example, ASMR has overlaps with like slime squishing and soap cutting and things like that. Even though those aren't technically necessarily ASMR or even sought out by people who generally enjoy ASMR. And they also have an overlap with that oddly satisfying thing you mentioned, like machine parts that click together repeatedly very well. I do think that like this sort of like contextless stream of like repetitive vocal and visual actions fits very well into a similar slot as things like the soap squishing or the soap cutting and the slime squishing,
Yeah.
where it's like it is an oddly satisfying, reassuring, consistent mechanical loop that's happening in front of you that can slot in at any point without any effort, like with almost no effort by the viewer. You can just sort of pop it on and have this thing, this stream of stimulation of some type. And I can't help but notice that like a lot of this is popular on TikTok. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where TikTok like constantly incentivizes like a pipe of content being like fed to you, and people do stop and watch these things. They watch the oddly satisfying videos. They will watch a video that like what people call content sludge, you know, which is like the footage of slime, the footage of a tunnel runner,
Yeah.
a person talking, and text on the screen. And I think perhaps there's a simple like a simple job that these things are filling, which is just that like they represent a consistent and repetitive break from whatever else that you might have been viewing in your content pipe at the time. They're like a white noise that is reassuring in that way. And I don't mean to like super like psychoanalyze it, because I'm not 100% sure exactly the demographics of people who seek this stuff out.
All I know is
but
it's big.
But it's huge, and it's huge on TikTok. It's huge in a place that is otherwise incredibly high pace and incredibly fixated on novelty. And this is not necessarily novel. It's instead highly repetitive and mechanical almost, but performed by a human. So it's interesting in that regard. It's got that novelty to it, but otherwise it's something you can expect. You can expect an ice cream cone. You can expect the noise, the repeated noise. There's not going to be any. You're not going to, suddenly have somebody going, "Hey, what's up, YouTube?" Blah, 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 you know what I mean? You're just getting somebody who's going, ice cream, delicious, nice, very nice, gang, 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 ice cream cone. It's like maybe there's like a unstructured meditative aspect to it. You know what I mean? Which I think is something, like I said, that you see is consistent between things like ASMR, things like oddly satisfying slime videos.
No, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm just horrifically reflecting on the fact that Wick has decided to refer to his audience as gang constantly after you said that. It's deeply disturbing me. Oh my god.
Well, I mean, gang, gang.
Yeah, what is that, by the way? Why do they say that in particular?
I don't know. It's a slang thing. Gang, gang. It's like I don't know. It's a slang thing. I couldn't explain it to you. You'd have to see it. It's just a thing people say.
What time are you talking to Shark tonight?
At around 5. So I've got a little bit of time.
Okay.
Yeah, that should be interesting. I just had to do. This is totally off topic, but the reason I was a little bit late, took more than 10 minutes, was I expected my audio setup to be a little bit easier to switch over. Every time I do like a Discord conversation where I'm having two people, where I want like to have video that I'm able to share with someone else, I always end up having to do all of this. I have to do all of this this work to reset my settings because I moved down to like a single computer setup when I do that type, just for a number of reasons, and my audio got completely borked, but I was actually able to fix it, and I assume that I sound rather good to you right now.
Crystal clear. It's very, very crisp.
Well, that's great then. That's what I was hoping for. And hopefully this will all hold through and I'll be able to do my stream tonight without major issues.
Yeah, I don't want
But
to take up too much of your
yeah.
time because I want you to have
No, you
like a
can take
chance
as
to
much time.
recover before you. I know you have the stamina of a god when it comes to this kind of thing, but I always, you know.
Oh, I mean, today on stream days like this where I'm doing conversations with other people, I tend to be kind of in the zone from the moment I wake up. Like, you know, I struggle to like relax until stream's done on days like that. So, I mean, if you want to talk a little more, that's
Well,
totally
here's
fine.
another
Don't feel afraid.
hypothesis. Here's another hypothesis for you.
Sure.
I think the ASMR phenomenon is why people like Jordan Peterson, and I think to a certain extent even people like Destiny, are popular. I think when you look at if you sit through a Destiny stream, this is 90% of it. Just mouse sounds and just like clicking and just grounded stuff. And I think that's
no
a
doubt
massive part. Yeah.
The ASMR streams are hugely popular. Even on Twitch, they're one of the more popular categories, and most of those are as far as like what's actually happening, indistinguishable from the ice cream gang pop pop pop, like, you know, those sorts of things are they all, I mean, that quality is the same, that there's like a background noise element to it. And yeah, I mean, I can't say that I blame anybody for that. I think that like podcasts have that same effect. A lot of people listen to rambly podcasts about niche subjects where their attention is not entirely demanded at every moment, just because it's a form of stimulation that doesn't demand you to look away from it, you know, or that doesn't demand you to look at it at all moments. Although I do think that there are you know, obviously there can be drawbacks to that type of content, but that's the case about everything, you know. In fact, it's funny that you should mention that, because to jump back
oh, excuse me, sorry.
Oh, no problem. To jump back and tie it back to something we were discussing before, one of the tingle immunity things that these ASM artists have sort of like a number of them have sort of agreed upon is that active listening to the ASMR can sometimes help people overcome the immunity effect, because, you know, your brain starts to tune it out after a while. So a lot of these tingle immunity videos will explicitly ask the viewer to focus on the video as opposed to listening to it as a background noise, which is often the case for a lot of it. A lot of people listen to ASMR while doing something else, while playing a card game, while reading something, while doing work or something like that. It's interesting that you should bring that up.
I'm gonna look into that, because I am really intrigued as to how that whole thing works.
Yeah,
there's a because there's kind of a feedback loop going on there. Because I'm kind of wondering if you have to sort of artificially and deliberately recultivate the sensation, are you not at some fundamental level also like fundamentally changing what the triggers were initially? Because you're doing a lot of really weird stuff there. Yeah, I think the interest.
I think that's accurate.
And the interest for me is in like, because I don't think ASMR is its own discrete thing. I think it's I think due to the types of mediums in which it is experienced, I think we've isolated it to the audio, because that's just the thing that's accessible.
I don't think that I don't think that I would agree with you, by the way. Like most of the most ASMR creators acknowledge visual and contextual elements, you know, pretty obviously. Although, of course, I think early on there was a lot of fixation on the audio aspect. Like, I mean, visual triggers is like a whole subsection, which is kind of funny because it's like the auditory aspect is fixated a lot when people talk about ASMR. But no, I would say that visual stuff.
Well, they're ASMR videos. That's the primary medium. It's not podcasts. Yeah.
There are a lot of of audio tracks. I mean, Spotify is absolutely filled with ASMR just tracks, but but yeah, the visual and contextual elements are really, really important. And obviously, I think from the beginning, most people would acknowledge that like there are social elements that are very important to a lot of people as well. For example, like you mentioned, the medical thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of like I said, the earliest sort of intentional ASMR things are often some of the earliest ones were role plays as a doctor, where somebody isn't a doctor, but they are doing doctor-like things to
Yes.
specifically emulate that experience. So it is interesting. Another one, of course, that's very common is like makeup artistry is another one that's really, really common. Someone doing your makeup,
Mm-hmm.
or barber shops, like I mentioned before, not just the actual location, but the engagement. In fact, there is a I would say that ASMR and the barbershop thing are like an overlap that don't even have a full overlap anymore. Like
Yeah.
there's this whole world of barbershop related content now where people just go, and there's a guy whose entire thing, and he, if I remember correctly, he started with an interest in ASMR, and it sort of grew far beyond that. Now he just goes to barbershops and films his experience at different barbershops with extremely high quality audio and video. And that's his whole thing. And this channel's huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I think his name's like the Traveling Barber or something like that, or something along those lines. And it's just like, oh
Oh,
my
I used
God.
to
Like,
watch what's his name, David Hawley, the guy who owned like a barber. He had like a bunch of tattoos on himself, and I used to watch those for the exact same reason.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's an incredible amount. It's really interesting to me. I know that we keep going off. I know so much more about ASMR. I know we keep going off that.
Yeah.
I can't help but draw comparisons between certain elements of the
Oh, I think
the
I don't think we're going
NPC
off
thing
topic at all. I think they're directly connected to each other in
yeah.
some intrinsic ways. I think the main thing with the NPC thing though, and I think why it's disturbing, whereas ASMR is just kind of purely interesting aesthetically, or psychologically, is that the NPC thing is it's sort of doing the opposite of what Evangelion does. Evangelion sort of titillates the viewer just very disturbingly. Even in its intro cutscene where it shows like nude silhouettes of the main characters and things like that, and it leads with that. But it breaks down the psychology of the viewer of this kind of thing, sort of in a similar way to what Nier Automata does with its depictions, sort of over time. I think this is kind of the reverse. It's kind of sticking within the comfort zone of the intro cutscene, not examining it too hard, not paying attention to the actual like complex,
Like sort of like deliberately avoiding things that could become complicated.
Yeah.
I think you have a point on that, honestly, of like it being a distilling down like a smile.
Yes.
Like you're getting repeatedly a smile, a smile, a smile. Oh, that's great. That's great. It's like a small dopamine hit for a specific thing. Whereas and there are types of ASMR that are like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
There are types that like fixate very much on a very specific thing. There's some really weird ASMR out there, and there's some really experimental ASMR out there. And then there's ones that go in the total opposite direction. I find it interesting. Maybe you're right in saying that like perhaps this NPC phenomenon is closer to a subsection of ASMR than I had previously given it credit. Maybe it is like a very specific thing that like that. The smile, the smile, the smile, the positive reinforcement, the positive reinforcement. I know that some of them do like little things. Like I remember the Cherry Crush one has the like yuck spicy or whatever, that's like mixed in there. Yeah. But it's like very cutified. There's like a cartoon voice that she uses.
Or it's creepy.
It's
like it's anti-cute and it's creepy, but the discordance itself has become itself a trope that has sort of made it a part of that thing that sort of reaffirms the whole thing.
Yeah, where it's like those little like those cartoons that like I'm trying to remember. There's this Hot Topic character that was very popular for a while that was like a bunny that said like shitty things. It's like a bunny that said fuck or something like that. Do you remember that? It was like, I think it was like the first one that gained popularity was like a bunny with a knife and Oh, it was a bunny with a rock, and it said, "Boys are stupid. Throw rocks at them." But it was like a cute bunny, like that kind of thing. Where it's like
Aerith saying shit in the Final Fantasy VII remake was a big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
What are you guys talking about?
I was able to.
Oh no, that was
offer some, like,
I
some,
really
like insight or whatever, or maybe some clues. I certainly find it interesting. I won't lie and say there aren't aspects that are somewhat off-putting to me. But I would be totally.
I find it physically difficult to watch. That's not a judgment on anybody. I just like
But I would be totally hypocritical to like lean in on that too hard, because of course tons of people feel that way about a lot of ASMR as well, where they feel repulsed by it, and I can understand that. So I don't know. I look forward to the development of the NPC meme. I want to see where it goes, and I want to see if I can try and hopefully in the future figure out the people who like it. I'm not going to invest a ton of time into this, of course, but I'm certainly interested. I'm watching and observing from afar. Yeah, I guess that's all I had to say. What were you going to ask? Sorry.
Well, right now I'm contemplating asking God if he thinks it's time to reset yet. But what I was gonna mention to you briefly. First of all, thanks for coming on.
Of course.
This is wonderful. Talking.
Always happy to talk with you. Of course.
I'm also gonna make an executive decision because there's no way in hell that Zanzi's gonna play Kenshi by the end of the month. I think this month we're gonna do BioShock. What do you think?
Ooh, I'm totally down to do BioShock. I've played that like 3 times.
Right. For people who are confused, that's for the next episode of the Left Trigger podcast, which y'all
should go check out. Go check out Left Trigger podcast. Our first episode on Stray was super, super interesting. The conversation ended up being awesome. It's basically me, Present Sunday, and Zanzi all discussing politics, game design, stuff we like about games, stuff we don't like about games. And I think you guys are going to really like that podcast. So you should go check it out.
Yeah, the first episode is on my channel. We're going to move them over there slowly as Zanzi figures out the admin stuff. But that's where it's going to be eventually.
As long as people can see it and that they're willing to follow it, that's what matters.
Are you just talking with Shark about the Soul Bunny stuff and whatnot?
Yeah, I'm going to try and have it not... I don't want the conversation to get stuck only being about, another content creator. So my goal is that I'm planning on asking Shark about his feelings about the whole thing, about his perspective on it, because obviously now I've shown Foreign Man's perspective on it, and I've listened to Soul Bunny's perspective on it. So I wanted to make sure that Shark expressed interest in wanting to be able to speak his side of things. So I want to be able to do the same. And I want to ask him some, structured and, perhaps pointed questions about the whole incident and whatever. And in the name of, I don't know, maybe moving beyond this, because I
agree.
I can't help but feel like this has been a long one.
We can't afford this. Like at a certain point, we're going to have widespread burnout, and it's just going to resolve in, well, we're just going to be doing drama again. And that's essentially all this is. This isn't even politics anymore. This is like and I think that's it's in both directions too. And I think one of the things that I think you held my feet to the fire on a little bit when we were talking, not directly, but sort of implicitly. At least that's what I was taking from it. Is that the super hostile reaction to this, even if it may be earned, it is fundamentally engaging in the same thing in terms of its ultimate effect. It's not positively fixing it. Yeah,
I do think that there is that problem. There's a it's hard because in a certain way, me getting angry at Foreign Man's video, even if it's a genuine reaction, is also contributing to this whole thing. And I've noticed that, and it's I'm hoping to talk about this more on my stream, but I don't want to be a scold to anybody about engaging in drama content, because God knows I've done some drama shit in the past, and I've gotten my feet into drama before. I just feel like there's got to be a line somewhere, there has to be. And I feel like a slap back and forth between two creators is one thing, but like weeks leading into months, leading into potentially years of back and forth on the same handful of topics becomes genuinely, I mean, I mentioned this when we were talking on Keffel's stream. It becomes genuinely alienating to everyone and anyone. And so I guess where I'm at right now is just that when and if I'm talking about it, I'm going to talk about it in a way that is hopefully demonstrating a desire to move forward and to engage more productively, and to say, okay, guys, let's pack it up a little bit. Let's wrap this shit up. Not out of a desire to like shut down anybody's pain or grievances, but just because like at this point, I don't know what anybody's gaining at all. Anybody. I don't even know if anybody's like having fun. There's the jokes and whatever that are being made. I don't know. So my hope today is that I haven't seen Shark talk to anybody else about this really. I could be wrong, but
I asked to at one point a little while ago, and he refused, which is fine.
Well, I'm hoping
so
that
I don't think he's been.
I can be a even-handed interviewer about this particular topic, and that it can be productive, and that maybe we can begin the process as a messy, poorly drawn space online, sort of moving on to different things, because it seems like a lot of people are like just kind of hurting, and it's just cycling and hurting and cycling and hurting, and I think that sucks. So I don't know. Oh, I hope that made sense. That felt very rambling.
No. That made perfect sense. I hope it goes well tonight. Good luck.
I appreciate that a lot.
Don't overdo it, okay? You have to not die too, right?
Yeah, I actually well, I have some travel coming up soon, so don't worry. I'll be taking some time away from all of this work. So anyway, President Sunday, it's been wonderful as always talking. Thanks for having me on to talk about ASMR and NPC stuff, and to all of the squids out there, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'm sure some of you will come by later tonight. I'll see you there if you do.
Yeah, how long till that starts? It's 3 p.m.
About an hour. So
about an hour. Okay, I'll
probably in about an hour.
I'll probably send my squids your way then.
Oh well, I appreciate that very much. Have a good rest of your stream.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for coming on. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye. All right, I'm going to refill my drink, and then we're going to move on. Thank you, Manic Jackson, for the 5 gifted memberships. I really appreciate that. Somebody asked earlier something interesting that I have a response to. Let me find it quickly. Somebody asked, here we go. Lily Tenshoes asked, how do you actively listen to something that says nothing? How do you actively listen to a stream or the wind or stuff like that when you're outside? That's exactly how you do it. You're not focusing on the meaning of the sentences. You're focusing on and simply basically cutting out everything but that particular source of stimulation by itself, and you're hyper focusing on the sound by itself, not the words. Sort of like how a mantra works, right? Okay. I'll be back shortly. We're going to go into our next segment, which will probably be Amnesia. Or we'll see. Maybe not Amnesia, because we only have an hour until Demon Mama streams, so we'll see. But I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Everybody grab coffee, and then we will press on. So we don't have a lot of time left. So what we're going to do is something I've been meaning to catch up on, and you're all going to hate it. You're all going to hate it a lot, but that's okay. Addressing Chudlogic's Slander. This is Kidology. I've been observing this for a couple days. I don't fully understand what's going on, but we're going to now. We've had our theory for today. It involved TikTok NPC memes. I'm so sorry. C'est la vie. Alright. This is a very, very unamused looking Kidology. She's growing on me a little bit. Just a little bit. Addressing Chudlogic's Slander because I'm done being cordial and patient with a man-child. I don't know why this is in brackets starting at I'm. It should be bracket because I'm done being cordial and patient with a man-child. You are English, madam. You need to get this correct. Just... I spit out my tea in your general direction in contempt. But let's see. I am legitimately curious about what the hell's going on here. So Sunday, will you check out the Skibbity toilet lore? I will check out the Skibbity toilet lore if you super chat me $50 today. Otherwise, dear God, no. That's my new policy, by the way. I forgot to pin it here. If I'm doing drama, and what we were doing just now is theory, not drama. If I'm doing drama, I will take if I make $50 in super chats, the person who breaks that threshold or who donates $50 gets to make me skip the current drama segment to the next thing. On demand. And I think that's fair. Gets me the money I need to keep the channel running. Gets you what you want. Sunday, please do some NPC lines for us. Absolute spirit. Solving the system of German idealism. Yum yum. There you go. That's what you get. Fuck you. Alright, here we go. Buongiorno. It isn't a Kidology video. If a solid third of it is in her figuring out technical difficulties midstream. You can't bloody hear anything. Hang on. There we go.
See. No. Okay. Well, thank you. Whoever sent the super chat, I really, really do appreciate it. That is most generous and most kind of you. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you can hear me. Okay, so enough ados. I'm just going to get straight into it because I just want to get my side of the story out, and mainly I want to be able to eat again because I haven't been able to hold anything down since Sunday morning, and it's because of
I didn't do anything. This is not me. This is slander.
this, and it is frustrating me, it is annoying me, and I'm done and I'm not interested really. So I just would like to clear the air, clear my name, and so I'm going to thank you so much, Charles Power, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to say my spiel. I'm not going to look at the chat or anything, and
Why does she have leftist tech? Because she's one of ours. She just hasn't grown into it yet.
Afterwards, I will go back over the chat. If you want me to answer any questions or you want me to see your comment, please do send it as a super chat, because then I will see it and then I will be able to go over it and etc. So I'm just going to get into it. If you don't know the drama, you can go and watch Chudlogic's video. I'm sure you'll recognize it by the thumbnail. You can go and watch it, and yeah, or you don't have to, which is probably the best option. You know, Twitter drama is no drama. So yes, I'm mainly doing this for my own sanity and because I want to eat and because I'm frustrated and I'm annoyed and very upset. So we are going to get into
Isn't Kidology a turf? Kidology isn't a turf. How do I put this? I don't even want to say she's like Anna Kasparian. She's a turf. She's not a turf at all. I think what she is she's one of these people who runs the line. Trans people are a minority and therefore should not be prioritized for optics' sake, which is stupid. And there's it's a position I have a tremendous amount of contempt for. But it's not like turfism is where you exclude trans women from the category of women to exclude them from feminism, right? That's what turfism is. That's what being a turf is, quite literally. I don't think that's what Kidology is. Kidology is something different. There are degrees of toxicity between being a turf and being what Kidology is.
So, I'm going to start, I think importantly, at 10:30 on Saturday night, right? Now, what I'm about to show you, I told the person that I'm going to show these because right now I have no respect for Chudlogic whatsoever. He hasn't respected me at all, so I don't give a fuck about him. Ooh. Warning, I am going to be swearing in this because I am annoyed and I haven't taken my antipsychotics today. So I don't have a filter like I would usually have because I'm not in the mood. So at 10:30, I got a DM, right? I got a DM from a mutual streamer acquaintance. And this was the DM, right? They said, oh, it was at 10 o'clock. Okay, 10 o'clock. And I responded at about 10:30 or so. They said, hey, a friend of mine wants to talk to you in private about all this mess, referring to this Chudlogic thing, mainly at this point due to this email that I'd leaked, which we'll get into it. We'll get into all of that. You around? So I say, hi, who is this friend? They respond, hi, and I say, hello. And they say,
she can have harmful views. I see a lot of people arguing about whether or not she's a turf. She hasn't said stuff that brings us sufficiently to the conclusion that she's a turf. So we have to be careful here. So Titan says she can have harmful views without actively being a bigot. She can also be a bigot without being a turf. We have to be really particular here, because if you assign a label to somebody and they can pivot out of it because it actually is not accurate, people are not going to receive a second critique from someone who has been discredited the first time. It's like I was having an argument earlier today with somebody who wanted to call Sargon of Akkad a Nazi. Sargon of Akkad isn't a Nazi. Sargon of Akkad has a lot of things that makes him palatable to a lot of Nazis. Sargon has a lot of overlap with Nazis. Is Sargon a Nazi? No. And if you call him a Nazi, he's going to be able to ridicule you publicly, as well as make himself look like he is less toxic and more benign than he actually is, because he has shunted off that accusation. So you have to really earn your punches, guys. And this is something that I have a lot of disagreements with other lefty political creators on, because there is there's an ingrained bad habit of just slinging these accusations around, which do not have the impact that they once did, when it was sort of taken for granted that the left position or the progressive position or whatever was sort of ascendant and dominant. That's not the case anymore. This is why you have major figures who are now completely doing a 180, like Anna Kasparian and whatnot. We do not have the political currency to be reckless and inaccurate. We need to be precise. So you can assign the harshest accusation appropriate, but it needs to be the one that is appropriate. Does that make sense? So is Kidology a TERF? No. Is she contemptful of trans people to the extent that she's willing to throw them under the bus for the sake of rhetoric and politics? Seems to me that that's fairly accurate. Doesn't make her a TERF, though. Sort of like how a Nazi isn't a TERF. Nazi isn't a feminist, therefore not a TERF. You see?
So,
Kidology's not a Nazi either, to be clear.
So, Chudlogic's girlfriend wants to talk with you. Another mutual streamer,
Chudlogic's girlfriend.
or me, whoever you are comfortable with, can set up a private, not streamed call. She's not mad or anything, just wants to, like, they've been fucking with her too. They refers to trolls, who I'm going to get into, because I know exactly who these trolls are. I know exactly who these people are, because they have been trolling me, and they have been writing on my Twitter since May of 2023. So in terms of like who needs to leave who alone, fascinating stuff, all of this. But anyway, this mutual continues and wants to get on the same page with you. So I respond because I'm very confused. I'm incredibly confused about all of this. And mind you, this is all out of the blue. This whole thing is out of the blue, okay? So I say, what does she want to talk about exactly? As soon as I was told she existed and another mutual streamer acquaintance explained things to me, I never spoke of nor referenced Chudlogic again until I got that email and was confused. We'll get into the email. I literally have no interest whatsoever in Chudlogic. Seriously, I was just happy there was another British person in this space who might get my sense of humour and bantering antics. They respond, I'm not crystal clear on it, but I can confirm this person is who they claim to be. I vouch for them. Obviously, at this point, I'm very suspicious and I'm very confused. And right now, even now, I'm incredibly paranoid about anybody who contacts me online because of this whole situation. I have lost trust in just everyone and everything. I don't trust anyone. I'm an island from now on. Right. Person continues. She mainly, I suspect, just wants to kind of figure out a way to get this to stop, since it's happening to her too. And whoever is doing this is likely to continue or do something else. So, this is all very interesting. Because mind you, just look at the time of this. This is all happening at 11 p.m. on Saturday night, okay? My time in the UK. And Chudlogic lives in the UK as well. And so we continue. This person continues and says, our mutual, another mutual, might perhaps be more eloquent and know more about the situation. If you've time, you can call her. She's available. So I say, thanks for confirming, because I'm suspicious about this whole thing. But I trust this person. I trust this person with my life, quite frankly. If Chud's girlfriend wants to talk, I'll respect that and I will do it, or I will do so. Right. Basically, what I'm saying is that, I don't want to talk to her, but if she wants to, if she needs to talk to me, then fine. I don't know why she wants to talk to me. I don't know why she needs to talk to me. Okay. But she needs to. And so this person says, okay, excellent. Are you available now? She doesn't need a lot of time, but wants to talk as soon as possible. Tonight preferred. Now it's 11:30 at night, like PM. Okay, this is late. Just so that you understand the context, right? So anyway, I take half an hour to respond because I think I said here, yes. Basically, I was at the gym. I was at the gym from like about 9:30. I was at the gym until about midnight or so, and it takes me an hour to walk home. So after I finish up at the gym, I then see this blast message and I respond and I say, sorry, I've just finished up at the gym and I am going home. It'll be like 1 a.m. when I get back home, so I can't tonight. I can talk Sunday evening.
Hey, that's me.
So then this person says, I'll pass it on. So right, during this time, I'm walking home, okay? Like, you know, just set the scene, right? It's pouring with rain, it's dark, it's, you know, England, it's cold, it's muggy. Just finished at the gym. I'm getting home. I want to get home, and the first thing, and the only thing I want to do when I get home is I just want to have a shower, want to get into bed, and I want to just, you know, do what I'm going to do on the weekend, okay? Which is like, you know, nothing, quite frankly. So, they say that they'll pass it on. And then they follow it up with, Chud's girlfriend repeats that it's urgent. But yeah, I'm just the messenger here. I'm sorry to dump this all on you. So, as you can see, this was sent at 12:15 in the morning, Sunday morning, right? Now, in that time, I went in that like 45 minutes, 45, 50 minutes, right? I get home, I go, I shower, I am getting ready for bed, everything. I don't realize that she wants to talk to me ASAP, okay? Because, you know, it's fucking midnight. And then I go, because every night I check my analytics just to see how YouTube is going. I check to see how it's all like, you know, whether I'm doing well, how many subscribers I've lost, you know, all those sorts of things, whether I'm going to be able to pay rent. And blow me bloody well down, I see this video pop up.
Sorry, just how she said that hit me funny. Blow me bloody well down.
I'm like, oh, I recognize those tits. But I don't know why they are on that video. And I see that about 30 odd minutes ago, right, whilst Chudlogic's girlfriend is trying to urgently talk to me, Chudlogic, or his pathetic editor, DK, upload this video. This video saying, leave me alone. Kidology barrages Chud with unwanted sexual advances. And in the description, it says that I have been involved and complicit in months of sexual harassment of Chudlogic. And I see that and I think, oh, okay, wow, this is what? What is going on? Because this video tells me that I need to leave Chudlogic alone, but then his girlfriend is busy trying to talk to me ASAP at 1 o'clock in the fucking morning. So I think to myself, okay, what am I meant to do about this? What am I meant to do? And this isn't the first time that Chudlogic has conveniently put me into a situation.
I think this is the first time I've seen her out of character.
Where I have to make a decision, and whatever decision I make, I'm the bad guy. Sorry, not the bad guy, the bad girl. Because all of this is really rooted in a lot of misogyny and a lot of sexism, and it's pissing me the fuck off. So anyway, I'm in a dilemma because now I've said that I'm going to talk to his girlfriend and sort this out. But then in that exact time frame, Chudlogic/editor decides to upload this video. So blow me down. I'm very, very upset and very, very confused. So I say, you know what? No. Sorry, I have no interest in talking to her after this. The description says I've been involved in months of unwanted sexual advances at Chud, which is categorically untrue. And so this person says, noted, I'll pass it on. And that's the end of that. That was the end of my correspondence with this mutual acquaintance of ours. And I haven't heard anything else and don't wish to at all. So, this was all very interesting to me because what is fascinating about all of this is that I'm being blamed for the fact that Chudlogic can't establish boundaries with people. And I'm not.
So here's the immediate retort to this, right? June 6th. She decides to do what she calls a spec analysis or something. So she assembles a list of all of the streamers she's seen, I guess, with glasses. And she starts off with Chudlogic. Utterly hilarious, already has my nudes, great finessing qualities. Sadly, his toxic community would probably traumatize me into becoming an OnlyFans content creator to Drama Farm. Probably never seen a black woman in the flesh. Long face indicative of... I guess that just leads into me for some reason. So long face indicative of President Sunday, which is odd. But like that's easily read as sort of like a weird, unprompted sexual innuendo. So I am pretty sympathetic in terms of her treatment by DK and Chud, but her hands aren't entirely clean here. There was a prompt for this. So, do I think she was sexually harassing Chud? No. Do I think she was skirting the line? She comes close. And in such a way as we would be having a very different conversation, I think, if this was reversed. So, this wasn't great. This wasn't great, kid.
I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about being unable to establish boundaries in his personal life and with this persona of Chudlogic, the drama streamer online. And him and...
Why does Chud have her... Chud doesn't have her nudes. That's the innuendo that's unwanted. Like, that's... Just don't say that to people, okay? Just don't. Just don't. Not unless they literally do, and it's a statement of fact. Just don't.
His people, his friends, his mutuals on Twitter have decided that they are going to blame me for that. That they're going to try and keep his integrity. In order to, I don't know. Because this is a problem that Chud has. A problem that we will get into. Because Chudlogic has a problem because he gets stressed out when girls talk to him or when girls flirt with him. Now that's a Chud problem. That isn't my problem. But he's never communicated that to me, mind you. Not once. Importantly in this whole thing, Chudlogic and I have never spoken to each other. Ever. Like, directly. At all. Not once.
Okay, so that makes this sentence here, look, Kidology. Once again, my sympathies are with you in this, but nonetheless, that's not an argument you should be making when you've led with this. Already has my nudes. It sounds weird, okay? I get it was a joke. It's like look, here's mine, okay? Also, his love of anime confirms a likely odor. This is actually slander. I will not even stomach having a shirt that is lightly sweaty from being out in the sun on me without showering. But, you know, it's a joke. Vosh, best smile of the whole bunch. Fetish for black women is something we'll get through together. It's a joke. Like, all of this is clearly a joke. Irrational Chad specifically gets the innuendo here. If you're acknowledging it makes him uncomfortable, or actually better, no, scratch that. If you have not spoken to the guy, don't presume that this is something that will be well received. It's weird. It's a little weird. I noticed this when I was criticizing Not So Erudite as well. She really liked to go on, oh, you're just secretly attracted to me, that kind of thing. It's really gross. Do I think she had ill intent? No. But this is, you know, this is not how you deal with strangers, especially not in a public capacity. Can I flirt with you, Mr. President? If you super chat me.
Just so that you know all of that, that's where this all starts. Because that's when things get a bit confusing for me. And I'm very confused at why this is happening. I'm very confused when I watch this video, why he's saying these things about me. Why he's saying, for instance, and I quote in the video, you can watch it, I'm not watching that video again. He says that I shouldn't have to put up with this shit every couple of weeks. And I wonder, like, what is this shit that you have to put up every couple of weeks, right? He says, and I quote again, if I was a woman, this would be completely different. Then he says, at least message me. Don't publicize things. That is the email that I publicized, which we will get into, which I don't know why he cares about, because allegedly he didn't even write that email.
That's interesting. So Chudlogic, I think, has been maintaining, or at the very least, it has been maintained, that the email in which he addresses Kidology is, what does he say, like "hello woman" or something? That wasn't him. So you have my attention now.
And he says, don't publicize things like this. I just want her to stop. What do you want me to stop, Chud? I'd be absolutely fascinated because I got really paranoid about this whole thing. And I was up all night, worrying and fretting because I was being painted as some kind of sexual harasser of male streamers or whatnot. And I was like, oh my gosh, have I actually done something wrong? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, a little bit.
So I spent the last day.
You did a little bit.
Crawling through Twitter, crawling through my Twitter, crawling through Chudlogic's Twitter, crawling through DK's Twitter, crawling through the Twitters of the people behind this, who have now very conveniently, simultaneously, mind you, deleted their Twitter accounts. So that's quite telling, isn't it? That they both decided to not only create their Twitter accounts at the exact same time, but decided to also delete their Twitters at the exact same time.
Yeah, that's how the internet works, Kidology, I'm sorry to say.
Curiouser and curiouser. And what is even more frustrating is that I'm being blamed for this entire situation. That is not of my making, mind you, but this entire situation, as I'm going to show you, is of the making of people that Chud knows and is associated with. This is his problem. These are trolls from his community. And let me preface this, I have no qualms or problems with Chud's community. I think you deserve better from a leader because he's a pathetic individual. But I think that it is very important that these people who are behind all of this are called out because they're not going to stop doing this. I didn't even realize this was happening because I don't spend all my time online. It was only when I went through my Twitter and looked at who was replying to all of my tweets, who was always referencing me, who was always atting me, who was always atting Chudlogic, that I realized who the people were who were behind this whole thing. And I don't know who they are aside from their Twitter accounts, aside from the video which they made prior to this video, which ironically has exactly the same footage, like to a T, the exact same footage as the footage that is used in this video that DK or Chud uploaded to Chud's channel. So I find that very curious, how this person or these people had the exact same footage, like the same edited footage used that is in this video. It's not available now because they privated their YouTube. They deleted their YouTube or privated that video. It's not available anymore, obviously, because, they realized that this probably isn't working as well as they thought. And they started to realize this when I publicized that email, of which Chud blamed me for, problems created and that I'm stalking him when all of this is contrived by people that he knows. So anyway, let me continue because, as I said, I need to eat. I am hungry. So, the people behind this whole thing, based on me going all the way through my Twitter, I had to waste an entire day doing this. This is stuff that Chudlogic should be doing. He should be sorting out people who are messing with him and messing with his life and his community. He shouldn't be scapegoating me for it, just so that he can save face with his girlfriend. He should instead deal with it like a man. But of course he isn't going to, because that is just not what Chudlogic does. So, the people who are behind this are these two people. The one is called Adolf Hustler. This person has now deleted their Twitter and completely erased every sign of their existence. So don't bother trying to find them. But what I find very interesting is that look who follows them. Look who follows this person who has only 18 followers. Chudlogic. So I'm going to infer from that Chudlogic knows who this person is.
That's a bad inference. I follow a lot of people who just happen to respond positively to something I tweeted at one point. Oh. And then I forget them forever. I never have any understanding of who they are. And maybe at the time he wasn't even called Adolf Hustler. He may have been called something different. You you can change your name, and I think even your I think you can even change your @ actually.
Maybe not in the flesh, but at least knows of them. They're in their community. I mean, you know, it's quite weird for like a really big YouTuber, right, or streamer to follow somebody with a measly...
It's not. I'm so sorry. It's not.
A measly 18 followers.
Look, I'll show you. It's very easy, actually. So if I look at your Chudlogic, or I guess it's Irrational Chat, it's right here. So he follows 1,045 people. Let me blow this up for you so you can see. 1,045 people. These are the people he follows, okay? Not every single one of them is going to be big. I would wager the vast majority of them are going to be tiny. Look, he even retweets some tiny people. Here's some guy called Bare Knuckle Sandwich. He has 21 followers. Look at this. 21 followers, followed by Irrational Chat. Let's scroll down a little bit more. Well, a lot of Bare Knuckle Sandwich lately. That's 15,000. Okay, that's pretty big. Shoe on Head, Aristocracy, pretty big. PSA Sitch, pretty big. Mind Waves. He's 4,000. He's about my size. Andrew Wilson. I think Andrew Wilson is actually pretty small. He's only got 3,000 followers. I mean, the top one's that tiny at least. Brother Malcolm. 2,000 followers. 3,000 followers. Come on, Twitter. Come on. Confirm my biases. 2,000 followers. Dingo. There we go. 839. And he follows me. Cactus. 800. Oh, I gotta have somebody tiny left over. 11,000. Oh, Pawsfish. I don't think Pawsfish is that big. Yeah, 2,000. Still pretty small. Anyways, look. The one that's pinned up here. We'll stick with this one. The pinned one right here has only 21 followers. So that is just 3 followers more than this person you're highlighting in this video. And this is why, kids, you always confirm your sources before you start talking and referencing them live. But nonetheless, it worked out in the end.
I don't know. All of this is just so curious to me.
Thank God he pinned that one, huh?
I'm so sorry, but like my girl brain is just like exploding with all of this information. The other person is somebody called Heavy as the Mountain. Now, what I find really interesting about these two people is that since May of 2023, and as you can see here, both of these accounts were created or joined Twitter in May 2023. May 2023. Both of them have been incessantly commenting on almost every single one of my tweets that I make. They were always, before they deleted their accounts like yesterday, they were always saying something. They always had something to say. It was never something nice. It was always something vulgar. It was always something cruel. It was always something to do with my sexuality. It was always something to do with them knowing better than me about something that I was saying. Just not really nice things. Of course, I didn't care enough about it because, like, you know, it's Twitter. Everybody is projecting to an extent. But it was just really interesting. And what I found most interesting, and when this like all started to sort of, I think in a weird way, some of it started to like come together, was when I went through my DMs and I saw that I got one from this person, Heavy as the Mountain. And they wrote the following on Wednesday. They wrote, "You know, we can all tell you have a crush on Chudlogic, right? Like, I'm not saying this to expose or accuse you. I could be wrong. But it's something people talk about in Discord. People assume as much based on how you act. It's pretty weird." I didn't respond to this, obviously, because at this point they had like wiped their Twitter. And right now, like, the Twitter doesn't even exist. But I found it really interesting how out of the blue, this person just sends me these 2 messages. And I think, okay, that's weird. So then I look and I realize, like, I know, didn't remember the name very well, but I remembered that because I remembered that from a Studio Ghibli film. I remember that face. And I remember that face always being in my comments, always. And it was just, things started to like click gradually. Now, what I find really interesting is how both of these accounts were firstly created at the same time and then deleted themselves at the same time. Now, I don't know about you, and I don't know if this is conspiracy theory.
Yeah, that's true, Sirius. I do indeed follow nobody, Geometry Dash players. Like you! Thank you, Shai Halid, for the, very generous $30 US. I really appreciate that.
But usually when people create sock accounts, right, they'll create like a few, and then like when they get discovered, they'll like delete all of them or something like that, right? Which usually means that there's one person behind these sock accounts, okay?
It doesn't follow there could be 20 different people who are doing the exact same thing. Like, if one person got the notion, somebody else did. It's just how it is. Like, for God's sake, they could have been talking about this as a joke in Chudlogic's Discord server. And some lurker who never interacts with them might have gotten the idea. That's a possibility. There's a lot of those. You just don't know. I'm sorry. Like, it's perfectly plausible, Kidology. All of this is perfectly plausible. Won't hold up, though.
And to be fair with you, my money is on this guy. Because this guy has a real weird interest in me.
Mine's not, and I'll tell you why. There are people in Chudlogic's server who will engage in this stuff. DK is a weird combination of pretty tight OPSEC when it comes to his identity, and zero curation when it comes to what he says under his brand. Directly connected to his job under Chudlogic, right? To the point where that's become a problem for a lot of people. This is not the kind of thing I would see DK doing. I would see DK doing this under his own name publicly. I don't know him personally. It's possible he would engage in this kind of thing, but there are enough other people who would. I don't think hitting on this one in particular helps, especially if it's not him, because then he can just lay bare like all of his communications or whatever, or he can just demonstrate you have no proof, and then the accusation is discredited, which means that the accusation against anybody else is de facto discredited as well. That's how it works. You really have to, like, you got to be careful here.
Oh, so very weird. And there are a few of them that we're going to talk about because they are just a piece of cake. Really, they are a piece of cake. This here's DK, and he is Chudlogic's editor, and he edits for other people, I'm sure. Now, I didn't know any of this lore behind Chudlogic and his editors because I don't watch Chudlogic. Like, literally, I only watch Chudlogic when I'm featured in a thumbnail, which I have been on several occasions. Talk about who's leaving who alone, but anyway, I digress. So, I didn't realize the whole lore of Chudlogic and like Discord and everything. I only discovered all of this yesterday. And it was really interesting to see like things that this DK person has tweeted, like, you know, about me. And it was interesting because I saw this tweet right at the top, and it's really interesting because we'll get into this with regards to the emails from the troll, but so much of the language that is used by these people features almost word for word in the trolling emails that I got. And this is one thing that DK says. He takes my response. Now, I made this response saying the trolls and Chud deserve each other, and I did that as soon as I had this, I posted saying that the trolls and Chud deserve each other, right after I'd had this conversation with a mutual streamer about Chud's girlfriend wanting to speak to me ASAP at midnight/1 a.m. in the morning. And also after his video had gone live with like my boobs, as if I'd like sent him this picture of my boobs or something, which I never did, mind you. I've never taken a nude photo in my entire life. Like, I'm a freaking femcel. Like, I'm so kosher. Like, can you imagine me ever taking a nude?
Destiny did say he's hesitant to engage with Chudlogic because of his editor, but to be fair, that's because his editor asked him in front of a crowd of people in Chud's server about the about his affair with Lauren Southern. So I think it was about was it about who was it who was speculating that he had Lauren had his baby or something? It was something weird. So no. It's not that may be a sore spot for him. I don't think it's necessarily reflective of his actual attitude.
Wow. But anyway, so DK says, we live in a world where a woman can actually just say, you deserve it, after months of sexually harassing somebody and get majority support. Don't let that black pull, you guys. Interesting. Where have I heard that before? Well, I will enlighten you in due course, because I have heard this before.
Better be impressive.
I have heard this before. So what I found really interesting about these guys is when I would look at things that they'd responded to, things that I
Okay, what am I looking at here? It's a sick Kidology queen of doing no research on situations and backing some of the most toxic women in the space. Female rapists sneaks together. Classic woman moves to play victim when being called out for harassing behaviors. Okay.
wasn't even referenced in directly, which I found really interesting. This is just to show you that their accounts, they've deleted their accounts. They're gone. Both of these people are that's Heavy, what's his name? Heavy as the Mountain. Yeah, that's Heavy as the Mountain. They just changed their name as if I don't know. Because they realized that I was onto them and I knew them. And then Adolf also
Well, hang on. Heavy as the Mountain, 0 followers. I thought Heavy as the Mountain didn't have 0 followers. Let's go back a little bit here. Do we have Heavy as the Mountain on the screen? Joined May 2023. Mountain Dew 23. Okay. Let's double check this. Doesn't say when they joined. 0 follows. Does Heavy as the Mountain follow anyone? Doesn't say. I guess that's in DMs as opposed to, it'd be helpful if we could see the actual main Twitter page, but I guess we can't. Whatever.
Yeah, that's Heavy as the Mountain. They just changed their name as if I don't know. Because they realized that I was onto them and I knew them. And then Adolf also that account just disappeared and vanished. So that was cute. But anyway, what I found really interesting was looking at things that they've said. And what I also noticed is that
Well, here's the thing. It's what if they were banned? What if they didn't even delete the accounts? What if they were just banned? DK and Chudlogic aren't in a vacuum. They're able to do what they do and continue to do what they do because a lot of people have fun with it. And there are a lot of people who think Chud and DK are cool, and those people are dumb, but they'll have imitators. There's nothing here connecting this to anybody in particular. This is a reach. I'm sorry.
they would say something, they would leave it up for a few days and then they delete it, okay? They didn't want any evidence of the things that they'd said to me or about me. And, so that, it just, I wouldn't see it. So I found this really interesting. Things that these individuals have said about me, right? So anyway, another streamer called Sick Unchained, who is an absolute moron in his own right, says,
that's true.
Kidology, queen of doing no research on situations and backing some of the most toxic women in the space. After I made a joke about another streamer called Grace Thorpe, okay? And so Adolf Hustler responds, female rapists need to stick together. That's nice. That's sweet. Interesting how this person seems to be obsessed with every single reference to me and has to respond.
Addressing Chudlogic's slander. We have 2 minutes left, Kidology. We are not really addressing the slander here.
But I'm the one who won't leave Chudlogic alone. This person also said, before deleting...
Streamed live. Oh, this is a live stream. Only 30 minutes, huh? We'll take a look at their video afterwards.
Another tweet. Ironically, I do remember that this tweet was by our dear friend, Heavy as a Mountain, because they're the one who deletes their tweets incessantly after writing them. Sadly, they decided to DM me because they couldn't resist, because I didn't respond to their tweets. But anyway, Adolf Hustler says, classic woman move is to play victim when being called out for harassing behaviors. No wonder you and Lav are friends. Fascinating stuff, that. Great, lovely, just sexist, misogynistic, completely baseless claims.
She friends with
Great.
Lav?
Real
I have trouble seeing her and Lav getting along.
lovely, thank you. And I wanted to also show you this because I found this fascinating as well. Now, at the beginning of this video, I made reference to a video that had come out before Chudlogic's video came out. And this video had it had no views, and it was uploaded like 15 hours before I was sent a link very discreetly by Adolf Hustler wanting me to watch it, okay? What this Adolf Hustler stupidly forgot to do was he forgot to change the profile picture of his YouTube channel called Twitch Pole Law, which now no longer exists as well. You can't find any content on it. And so when I looked at it, fascinatingly enough, still the exact same profile picture there, as you can see there. Curiouser and curiouser. And they linked me to it.
I don't think Twitch Poll Lore is Chudlogic's editor's channel. Well, hang on. Let me think for a sec. The thumbnail is in his style. It's well put together. Very well put together, in fact. Let me check something quickly. Adolf Hustler is somebody else who's in Chud's server. This is not DK. In fact, there's an easy way to determine this. Give me a moment. Maybe not. Let's see. Excuse me. Maybe I spoke too soon. Okay, well.
And wanted me to explain. And this
See what she
video
says.
was the Chudlogy saga. Kidology's unrequited crush ends badly. Wow. Fascinating. And this is just a screenshot of what they then did after people started watching it, because I put out my tweet saying this you when I found that, and they changed their profile picture instantaneously because, oh my goodness, you know, they, whoa, close call, wasn't it?
All right. Let's look at the Chudlogic one. Just briefly, very briefly. Then I'll send you off.
I cannot believe.
Nobody likes you. Lefty race war, what? Why am I in the thumbnail? Oh, I see. This is Demon Mama and Soul Bunny. Okay. Here we are. This is Leave Me Alone Kidology barrages Chud with unwanted... The fuck is this? Well, that's smart, actually. I'm going to do that in future. The censorship bar on your title. You can't see it here. Right here.
Okay, stop talking about me. Stop posting emails that aren't even from me. Stop atting me on Twitter. Utterly hilarious. Already has my nudes. Not true, by the way. Okay, we've never interacted in DMs ever. Stop. Enough. Cease. I'm not interested. I don't want this. I want you to stop talking about me. I want you to stop tweeting about me. Okay, right. I don't know what the fuck. Okay, I didn't really want to address this much. Kidology is fucking insane. I don't know what the fuck she's thinking. Okay, she's putting out like a tweet, atting me with someone that's emailed her from Chudlogic, which, by the way, isn't fucking me. Literally nothing to do with me. Okay, some fucking fake troll account that's probably trying to wind her up or do something. Who knows? And she's putting it out there, and she's going, Oh, look, Chudlogic, what are you doing? You're are you insane? Someone is fucking trolling you. You could have, we mutuals on fucking Twitter. She could have just reached out to me and gone, oh, what's this? Is this you? And I'd have gone, no, that's not me. You know? I've got no fucking interest in really talking to you because...
She made insinuations in that video we just watched that the emails were not from Chudlogic. I didn't see proof that they were. So I don't know why she's pushing that. If you have no evidence, you have no evidence. It's just the unfortunate fact of life. Even if you're right, if you can't prove it, tough. That's how it is.
Because you're really fucking weird. You're really fucking weird about stuff, okay? I tried to play it off initially as a sort of chill thing when she made a joke about, you know, me being able to share her nudes. And I foolishly thought that just kind of casually downplaying it would be sufficient. But no, she seems to endlessly, constantly fucking put out little things about me.
Also, Chudlogic has a history of being... as far as anyone is concerned, falsely accused of grooming minors online. This has been gone over with. He has not done so, but I can understand why this would be a sticking point. Like, this would be a sore spot for him. I actually have a suspicion that this was a major thing that sort of pushed him to be sort of where he is now. This Kidology, this is why you don't talk to strangers this way. This is so basic. Basic social skills. Come on. I know you have the wherewithal to do that. Don't make innuendos against random people online, especially in a public venue when the people you're talking to are in public-facing careers where this can seriously hurt them. It's just not rocket science.
It's so weird. Like, fuck off, okay? Stop talking about me. Stop posting emails that aren't even from me. Stop atting me on Twitter, okay? Like, what the fuck? It's honestly crazy. I don't get it. I've never responded to her. I've never even spoken to her directly. It's so weird, you know? It's so weird. And I'm like, I don't know, you know, like, is my lack of response not adequate? Like, do I need to spell it out to you? Like, stop. Cease. Don't fucking share emails and be like, oh,
Halt.
Chud's messaging me. No, I'm not emailing you. You're insane. That's not me. Literally nothing to do with me. Well, I don't need to write a twit longer. She just needs to shut the fuck up. I just don't understand why she keeps going. Like, obviously, I'm not interested, you know? It's something personal. I'm just, you know, I'm just not interested. And it's simple as that. I don't know what to say. It's not personal, as in, like, I'm not, like, being mean about this. I just don't want to have these kind of interactions with you. And I certainly don't want you to be, like, if someone is messaging you pretending to be me, why are you putting it out there publicly? Like, you should be just contacting me directly going, oh, what's going on here? Because who the fuck emails? Who the fuck emails someone to, like, you know, have those kind of conversations? And then she put out another tweet, which was like, was it about me? Wasn't it about me? Like, I don't know. But then she says like, oh, she said something like, oh, it's so horrible when guys are like this and they want to be discreet about it. Da, 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 da. And I'm just like, is this even about me or not? It seems like it is. But then it's.
What are we looking at here? Okay, let's see.
But then it's not me. I'm not talking to her. I've not spoken to her directly once. Okay, this is the original message. Somebody, like, she even says that my email was hacked. It wasn't hacked, by the way. My email hasn't been hacked. It's probably just someone that's like chudlogic1@gmail.com. They probably set up a fake email account or something. Best email that I cannot make sense of ever.
Sensi says he said as much in his stream a few weeks back that the way leftists were chomping at the bit to condemn him and demand he repent. That's for something else, though. That's not for the grooming allegations. That is different. Also, like, he knows that this is not representative of everybody. That's a small subset of people that were jumping on that.
Correction, hello, white woman. And for non-Brits, this is an example of banter. Like, what possessed her I just don't understand why you would share this. Like, either it's not me.
You blame Chud when people instantly believe accusations. Not everybody did. I didn't. I don't think Demon Mama did. I don't think most people who weren't just nobodies just champing at the bit for outrage drama were. I think most people. I don't think he was actually attacked that widely for it. I think it was a few obsessed individuals.
Just to be explicitly clear.
I could be wrong about that, but that was my perception.
Either it is me, okay, and I'm sending you a message and you're immediately sharing that with everyone, even though if it was me, I'd obviously want it to be discreet. It's not me, to be clear, but if it was, this would be an insane thing to do. But it's not me, and this is a fake email account. And this is a fucking fake email account, and she's sharing it. Why? Why would you do that? Like, she herself recognizes it's probably hacked. It's not me. I've not sent her this message. Oh,
DJ Mule did? No, that's par for the course for DJ Mule.
Man.
DJ Mule's platform is less sustainable than mine, which is incredible considering the amount of scaffolding he has.
This tweet. Why? Why would you do this? Like, this is fucked. Like, what, just because it's a woman doing it to a man, it's okay? No, fuck off. Which maelstrom is the best specs? Utterly hilarious. Already has my nudes. Not true, by the way. Okay, we've never interacted in DMs ever. Okay, as far as I can remember, and certainly she's not sent me a nudes. Okay. Great finessing quality. Sadly, as toxic community will probably traumatize me into becoming OnlyFans content creator to Drama Farm. Probably never seen a black woman in the flesh. Long face indicative. Okay. Is that a reference to my... Dude. Listen, I've got to be honest with you. I've tried to ignore this. I've tried to not make a big deal out of it, okay? Because I've got to be honest with you. I thought that she'd eventually stop. I thought eventually she'd just stop when I didn't respond to her in any way, shape, or form, okay? But she hasn't, okay? She's now sharing this email, which isn't even from me. And even if it was, it would be a weird thing to do. But it's not from me, okay?
The hell is going on?
And the problem is, now I'm getting fucking paranoid thinking, is this about me? But it's not about me because I'm not talking to her. But what is this? There's nothing more disappointing and pretty degrading when a man you respected says he wants to be discreet friends after you make public your acquaintance. Is that in reference to this? Like, I don't understand what's going on. Is this about me or not? I don't know. Men, if you want boundaries, tell a woman before she misunderstands a situation his words. I don't want to be in. I'm not interested in Kidology in that way, any shape or form. No, thank you. I don't mean to be rude, but fuck me. I'm just, it's not, no.
All right. I think we get the gist of this. I'm going to send you all to, not Kidology, God. I'm going to send you all to Demon Mama. Tell her Sunday sent you. Fatan, brethren.